Shalom, Kahal Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashim Rakah Kodash, double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of GMS, including the elder that came before them that taught us this truth. And shalom and salutation to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, the hopeful elect tabernacle of David. I'm the brother Yashawan, back with the World War III daily update. Shalom and salutation to you as well. Now, just a quick reminder that whatever I just said, right, when I started this video, that's inviting you into the church. Basically, I said, in the name of God and his son, right, we're coming in that name. And when two or more are gathered together in his name, you're in church. So be careful what you say or not say. If you use the comment board, use it to your benefit, not to your detriment. If you use thumbs up or thumbs down, use it to your benefit, not to your detriment. Just a quick warning. All right, on with the World War III daily update, filtered through the scriptures, by the way. It also means that we're going to use the Bible to show you what's going on. And that's real simple. Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. The second woe is talking about World War II. The third woe is talking about World War III. What about the third woe? It cometh quickly. And now we'll just let Dina Calametta give the update. 23 hours ago, Dina Amelia Calametta, China already at war with U.S. Balloons hint to an attack. Russian nuke bombers fly near Alaska in warning. Take it away, Dina.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. It's Dina Calametta here. And for today's news, I'd like to bring you some reports that have occurred in the last few days. And I'd like to start with China. It is being reported that apparently China is already at war with America. And
That's significant. I just had to stop it. Salakia, forgive me. That's significant. China is already, most Americans don't even know this. Okay? If NATO, the EU, and Babylon the Great are at war with Russia right now, what does this mean? China is already at war with Babylon the Great. What does that mean? It means world war is coming quickly. Does it not? Okay? It's already going on. They just haven't made it known to the greater public yet.
Biden administration is ignoring the signposts. On Thursday, Biden characterized as not a major security threat of the breach of U.S. sovereign airspace by a Chinese high-altitude reconnaissance vehicle that executed a pre-programmed flight plan across the continental United States, apparently surveying America's most sensitive military facilities. Now, after the American F-22 warplane shot down Beijing's intruder, 3 more mysterious aerial objects crossed into U.S. territory and were downed again by fighter jet. Now, a more peculiar reaction to a potentially unprecedented and peacetime series of intrusions into the homeland, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin said that while authorities don't yet know what the objects are, they are not a threat. Now let's look at the Biden administration's own words. The surveillance balloons are not a threat, but we are sending F-22 warplanes to shoot them down. And we somehow know they are not a threat, though we don't know what they are. Now, on February 2nd, CIA Director William Burns revealed his agency's intelligence assessment that the Chinese president had directed his military to be ready for assault operations against Taiwan by 2027. On February 5th, Air Force General Mike Minihan, head of the Air Mobility Command, forecasts that the U.S. and China will fight in 2025. Now, Taiwan is the epicenter of the escalating tensions between Washington and Beijing and the road to a potential war. Now, there are multiple signposts, indications, and warnings pointing to Beijing's transitioning onto a wartime footing. During a recent visit to China's Armed Forces Operational Command Center, the Chinese president directed China's military to be ready for war. He said the entire military must concentrate all energy on fighting a war, direct all work towards warfare, and speed up to build the ability to win. Now, it goes on further to report that the recent breach of U.S. sovereign airspace by the Chinese unmanned high-altitude reconnaissance airship demonstrated that the PLA has identified a glaring gap in U.S. aerospace security, which Beijing will undoubtedly exploit during wartime. This seemingly low-tech intelligence selection device contained a multi-sensor payload which highly likely transmitted sensitive U.S. military data, including even high-fidelity photos, communication intercepts, and nuclear intelligence to Beijing in real time. This maneuverable airship, controlled by the Chinese military, was both an intelligence collection asset as well as a delivery platform and could have easily contained a kinetic or chem-bio payload presenting a much bigger threat to Americans. But the Biden administration and the Pentagon minimized this threat, arguing that the spy balloon didn't have any value because of its inability to gather any additional intelligence beyond China's low Earth orbit satellites that had already been collected. But they are missing the point. By focusing only on the surveillance aspect, while China likely had a much broader mission for this covert operation. The report finally goes on to state that it is high time for Biden and his security team to face reality. China is a much bigger threat than they can care to admit. Instead of shooting down the aerial reconnaissance vehicles one by one, the Pentagon and the administration must develop a serious comprehensive strategy on how to deal with America's top strategic opponent. Now, the writer of this piece was Rebecca Kaufner, and she is the president of the Doctrine and Strategy Consulting. She's a former DIA intelligence officer to boot, and she makes some very good points. In China's eyes, we are already at war with them, most specifically over Taiwan. But for them,
that was very significant. Listen again. In China's eyes, not the proud American that can't be defeated, but here's what China's thinking, okay, from their perspective.
She's a former DIA intelligence officer to boot, and she makes some very good points. In China's eyes, we are already at war with them, most specifically over Taiwan. But for them to breach our sovereign airspace with their flying balloons is unprecedented. Now let's move forward and see what other headlines that have occurred in the last few days. The New York Post reports that make no mistake, China's incursions into our airspace look like a prelude to an attack. Whatever China's planning, the violation of American territorial airspace was blatant and revealed the most dangerous mentality of Chinese leadership. Here's another report. The United States was tracking the Chinese balloon for almost a week before it entered American airspace.
So rest assured they ain't going to tell you the truth. All right? You'll know when it's too late.
Now, here's another very interesting report. China warns of retaliation against U.S. entities after the U.S. shoots down the spy aircraft. The People's Republic of China threatened on Wednesday to take action against U.S. agencies responsible for destroying and recovering one of its surveillance balloons.
Okay, and you might look at that, oh, okay, that doesn't mean nothing. We're the big USA, hoorah, and all of that. Yeah, yeah. What is the movie? How does the movie say? Okay, think about this. China is threatening retaliation for downing a surveillance balloon. Whatever that, what does that mean? That means they're itching to go to war with them. Who else is threatening retaliation? Well, Russia is for what? For the Nord Stream situation that everybody was distracted from. You know, oh, we're shooting down aliens. We're shooting down aliens. We blew up the Nord Stream against our own allies, the European Union, to which Russia was making a nice piece of money. Now Russia, which is what do they call that? Terrorism. From which you'll take the term and turn it around on me and call me the T word. But I ain't blew up no Nord Stream. You see where this thing is going? The truth is about to come out, and nobody can stop it.
Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Wang Wenbin made the vague threat during a press conference, stating that China firmly opposes this and will take countermeasures in accordance with the law against the relevant U.S. entities that undermine China's sovereignty.
China's sovereignty? What does that mean? How is China sovereign on our land? Well, maybe it's their land. Is China declaring sovereignty in America? Is that what? Am I mistaken? Am I hearing this in a wrong way? I could be, but guess what? China owns the USA. Whether I'm wrong on this or not. That's what it sounds like. China's sovereign. Well, we're sovereign. We own that's our airspace. What are you doing? Shooting down our balloons in our airspace. We own it. Could that be what they're saying?
Wednesday to take action against U.S. agencies responsible for destroying and recovering one of its surveillance balloons. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Wang Wenbin made the vague threat during a press conference, stating that China firmly opposes this and will take countermeasures in accordance with the law against the relevant U.S. entities that undermine China's sovereignty and security. So they are threatening us after we shoot down their balloon in our sovereign airspace.
Whose sovereign airspace? Everybody knows that China been buying up pieces of the USA. So before you become indignant there, Dina, why would they say that? It sounds absurd, does it not? Well, what's not being said here? Or better yet, why did Babylon the Great let the balloon fly all the way over the continental U.S. and then only take it down when it got to the maritime? Oh, did I say maritime? What's going on?
The nerve, right? But it goes on to report that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has been highly critical of the U.S. government's handling of the situation in recent weeks, accusing government officials of making a spectacle out of a delicate situation. Now, in the meantime, I do want to point out that the United States has test launched an unarmed intercontinental ballistic missile, according to the Air Force Times. The Minuteman III missile lifted off from Vandenberg Space Force Base at 11:01 p.m. Thursday, and its re-entry vehicle traveled about 4,200 miles over the Pacific Ocean into the Marshall Islands. Now, while the test occurred amid U.S. concerns about North Korea's missile tests and the transit of a Chinese spy balloon across the U.S., the Air Force said that the launch was routine. Now, in the meantime, the United States Navy and Marines are holding joint exercises in the South China Sea. The exercises involving ships, ground forces, and aircraft took place on Saturday but gave no details when they began or whether they have ended. Now, with all of that said, let's move along and talk about Russia. Western intelligence is stating that Russia is amassing aircraft on Ukraine's border, potentially signaling a major air offensive as the invasion approaches its one-year anniversary. NATO allies have noted both fixed-wing and rotary aircraft as part of the buildup. A senior U.S. official echoed the assessment, saying that there is some pre-positioning of air assets as part of a wider arrangement for new mobilization. The report comes as Ukraine's allies embark on a renewed rush to bring air defenses to the country. During a summit this week between NATO defense ministers in Brussels, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke of Russia's considerable air capabilities and the urgent need to bring air defenses to Ukraine. But he denied that the Pentagon was seeing evidence of Russian preparations for a massive aerial attack. But he added that Russia has a substantial number of aircraft in its inventory and a lot of capability left. He said that we need to do everything that we can to bring air defenses to Ukraine. And the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg reaffirmed the bloc's commitment to protect Ukraine for as long as it takes. He also stated that there are growing signs that a long-anticipated renewed Russian offensive has begun. Now, speaking of Russia, Russia claims to have flown two of its Tu-95 Bear bombers near Alaska in a show of strength to the West. The noisy missile carriers flying over neutral waters in the Bering Sea, accompanied by 30 Russian fighter jets, were very close to U.S. airspace. Footage apparently released by the Kremlin allegedly shows the Tu-95MS missile bombers on a Valentine's Day mission in what appears to be a warning to the West amid Kremlin fury over supplies of weapons to
Ukraine, a la the St. Valentine's Day massacre.
This comes after repeated threats made by Russian officials and propagandists on using nuclear weapons amid deepening East-West tensions surrounding the war in Ukraine. Now, in addition to that, Dutch F-35 intercepted and escorted away Russian warplanes near Polish airspace. Norway, in the meantime, warns of growing importance of Russian nuclear deterrence in the Arctic.
That was Polish. Now this is Norway. I see Russia. I see China. I see Turkey getting destroyed. Syria, Israel, okay, the Tigray, the Ethiopian, all right? It sounds like World War. I'm going to let the rest of this play so you can get a complete update.
Here's another headline. Alaska has become the front line for U.S. global tensions.
Wow.
Now, I have reported about Alaska in the past in regards to tensions between the U.S. and Russia, but this is also in regards to China. So we're still seeing a threat in that area.
Did you hear that? Those are the three great superpowers. Russia. Well, Russia's not a superpower. You think not? With China, they are. China and Russia. You think China and Russia are against each other? No, they're against Babylon. Okay? What kind of threat is that? That spells World War III. You don't know it?
But as of right now, we are facing some very serious threats from China and Russia. And I cannot leave out North Korea and Iran. So a lot happening in the prophecy, wars and rumors of wars. And as always, I will continue to keep you updated.
Good job, Dina. Good job, Dina. You're making my job easy here. All right, so let's get one on the way out. Go to Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war. Here's what's going on, clearly. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Jump down. Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Jump down to 14. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near, in the valley of decision, Salakia. All right, so guess what? All right where we started, Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe, World War III, cometh quickly. It's going to be brutal out here. All right? So with that, we hope that the elect were edified. Brothers and few sisters, with that, we're going to say shalom.